Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I am reviewing a pen from a brand I've reviewed shockingly few pens from, and that is Waterman. And so today the pen I'm looking at is this. This is the Waterman Expert. So I'm going to talk about the parts and features of this pen, then do a writing sample, talk about some pros and cons and all that kind of stuff. So tying a little bit of background, Waterman, if you're not familiar with Waterman, firstly, this is a brand that is a leading pen brand for decades. So, if you're not familiar with the brand, I really suggest you look into them. They've got quite a decent range of pens across a slightly luxury price point, but good quality pens. So they were founded in New York in the 1880s, and are considered one of the brands that kind of started fountain pens. They were one of the first brands to patent a proper fountain pen. And they have a history of fountain pens through the decades and, over the last century or so that is really quite impressive. So their headquarters are in France, even though it was formed in New York. And it's owned now by the Newell brands, which, sort of owns a range of different brands like Papermate and things like that. And this happened around the 2000 mark. But they have maintained their connection with France, and all the pens are made in France. So that's what we'll say. So this is the Waterman Expert. This is the Expert 3 GT, so gold trim. It is a very simple, elegant pen. Let's talk about the parts and features. So starting with the top of the pen, you get this slanted finial there with the W for Waterman in the gloss on the relief there. You get it swells slightly to the gold ring there, which has the clip on it. The clip is good. It's kind of rigid, but usable. And it's a fairly traditional sort of Waterman style clip. The cap swells. You get these gold bands that say they're Waterman Paris and France on the back. And then another black band, another gold band, and that's the end of the cap. And then the barrel of the pen continues along and tapers down to a gold ring, and then this end there. It is a snap cap, and it's a fairly decent snap. It sort of holds quite nicely, and reveals a gold band there. And then the section tapers and flares, gold band, end cap, end ring there, and then this nib. It's a smaller nib. It's probably about something around I suppose around a number 5, maybe just a bit smaller. It says Waterman Paris and then F for fine. It's a fine nib. It's got the Waterman logo on it. It's a bicolor nib, so two tones. So it's the silver on the end and then the gold. Now, it is a steel nib. This particular one is a steel nib, and I think you can get it with a gold nib, but this is a steel nib. But it is gold plated, as is a lot of the trim on this pen. And they say it's gold plated with 23 karat gold apparently, so we'll have to believe that. That's what the official stuff says. The pen is made from turned brass and it is lacquered, and it's nice. It's got a nice weight to it because of that. It's substantial, it's sturdy. I said it's a cartridge converter. I have a cartridge in it at the moment with Waterman blue in it. You can get a converter. It is not provided with a converter. So that is the basics of this pen. It's simple, elegant. Waterman do this kind of pen very, very well. Clean lines. They say this has like a French design, or a French-inspired elegance, that kind of thing. I can kind of see that. To me, it's just a nice sort of take on a flat top pen. It's got really nice proportions, and I think it's just a very, very nice, simple, clean pen. Size comparison here with the standard Lamy Safari. You can see it's about the same length as a Safari. I think it's about 1 millimeter longer, and that's it, or maybe 2 millimeters longer. It's a fairly sort of standard sized pen. Uncapped, you see it still holds up pretty decent. It's a little shorter now than the Safari. It's got a round grip section as opposed to triangular grip section. It's a little narrower than the Lamy Safari's grip, but still fairly comfortable in the hand. And then lastly, posted, the Lamy Safari comes out at a much longer length. I think the Expert posts very, very well. It posts to a nice length, and it sort of, if it posted any longer or not as far down on the body of the pen, I think you'd actually get a bit of an imbalance in terms of the weight of this pen. So what are the dimensions of the Waterman Expert? This is the Expert 3 GT. Well, it's 143 millimeters when it is capped. It is 126 when it is uncapped. So a decent enough size. Anyone who uses like, you know, standard pens uncapped, you'd be able to use this without too much problem. It's 150 when it is posted, and it clicks nicely to post on that gold ring there at the back, and it makes a very nice length. And because it posts deeply, you get the cap there on the webbing of your hand. Sorry, the section is 8 to 9 millimeters, so it's a little bit narrow, but if you hold it further back, it also gives you a nice length from the page with that slightly smaller nib. And the weight of the pen is 30 grams with 11 in the cap and 19 in the body, so it is you know, it's good. The ink capacity of the converter is just over 0.5 mil, so not a whole lot. But if you use the cartridges, they have a capacity of 1.3 mil because they are a longer cartridge. They're a good length cartridge. And so what I tend to do is I tend to refill cartridges like this instead of getting a converter for a pen like this. And so I've got this filled with a Waterman Serenity Blue at the moment. This is the second fill of this. Used the cartridge that came with it and then refilled it with Serenity Blue. Okay, it's time for a writing sample now with the Waterman. Expert, I'll say this is the Expert 3 GT, and it has a steel fine nib. The ink in this is Waterman Serenity Blue writing sample. So there is a bit of feedback on this nib, but it is smooth and it writes nicely on the page. It writes, I think, relatively wet, and it's actually probably wetter than my other Waterman pens. The main one that I use is the Karen, which is a beautiful pen, and you know, writes absolutely beautifully, but has a gold nib as well. But this is probably just a touch wetter, I would say. Quick writing. Oh. That was me misaligning the pen on the page. I'm not sure what happened there. It's a fairly generous pen. Reverse writing is okay. It's actually quite a broad line for the reverse writing. And flex, I wouldn't push it. It's a fairly stiff nib. You put a little bit more ink down, but not really. So the Waterman Expert retails in Australia at full price for 219 Australian dollars. I've seen it as low as 160. It's about 115 UK pounds, and I've seen it for around the 110 euro. Finding an American price for this was tricky. There are a number of retailers that sell it, but the prices are actually very varied. So find it at your local retailer and see what you can get it for. The lower the price point for a pen like this, the better, with a steel nib and a standard cartridge converter, of course. And there is a wide variance in prices. So what are the pros and cons? Well, two cons I come up with. Firstly is that it is a tiny bit back-weighted when it is posted, sorry. It does post nicely into the web of your hand, which is great, but you do feel that cap on the end there. So just something to be aware of. As you saw in the writing sample, there are occasional hard starts when you're doing quick writing and things like that, but in everyday writing, I don't find there to be a problem. And on other paper like that, the writing sample I did today was on Clairefontaine paper, which is a coated paper. I find it more on that than on other paper. So like if you're writing on Midori or anything with a slight bit of tooth, I've not had an issue whatsoever. The other thing, it's not really a con, I suppose, but is the fact that it doesn't come with a converter. And at this price point, like, I kind of wish it would come with a converter. We'll just leave it there. The pros, though, I really like the style of this pen. It's classic, it's simple, it's clean, it's elegant. The design is beautiful. I really enjoy the size and the feel in the hand. It's very comfortable, and it's got a nice little weight, which helps that. Another thing I love about Waterman is how they package and present their pens. It's always done in a very classy way, like simple cardboard sleeve over the box. But the box is quite a nice, simple box, and it always looks nice when you open it up, and you're sitting there on its little pillow, and they always look classy. They're not garish. It's simple. It's elegant. It's a nice old-fashioned way of presenting a pen, which I think Waterman do very well. They're not trying to be trailblazers. They're just trying to really produce beautiful quality writing instruments. And then the last thing is, when that nib is writing well, and as I said, I have so few occasions of that hard start. Like, it is so strange that it did it then. Because in all the time I've been writing with this pen, I've probably had a handful of hard starts, and most of those have been because the pen has like been uncapped for a while or something like that, and it really takes no time getting it going. Waterman know what they're doing, and the nib is smooth and it writes well and it writes generously. For a fine, it's I think got quite a nice, almost sort of fine medium line to it. So this was the Waterman Expert 3 GT model. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. And please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me. You can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.